Hello, welcome back to Piano Barbarians. I am your host, Paul Seiz. My guest today is Jackie Myers. Jackie Myers is one of the preeminent musicians that we have here in Kansas City. She is a keyboard player. She is an organ player. She is in high demand around the country, touring as not only as a solo artist, but also with her duo and internationally with her trio. Jackie and I had a ton of fun talking about music today. It got really, really spacey during Music Theory Nerd Corner, which I enjoyed. I hope you enjoy that too. I am proud to have gotten to know Jackie and consider her a friend. I have deep respect for her. She's an incredible musician. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Jackie. Sound good?
Yep. Do you want to hear the weirdest request that I get every time I go to Cigar Box?
I do.
My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Where's the penny whistle?
Every night in my dreams, I see you.
It's like my nightmare.
I feel you. Your nightmare? It brings so much joy to so many people. Do you play it, or do you be like, or are you telling the buzz off?
So it happened enough times that I went home and learned it last time, and I'm gonna play it for them.
I'm so excited
Just
for
like,
you.
just like Piano Man.
Why do you think that happened? Why do you think they're
Why do
asking?
they all want Celine Dion?
Yeah.
I can't tell you why the average person wants what they want. I just know that they tell me sometimes.
Yeah. I sometimes, when I had long hair and a beard, people would ask me for Foo Fighters because I looked just enough like Dave Grohl and has energy, you know? And I was like that, you know? And like sometimes people listen with their eyes and they're like, here's what I'm getting from you and your vibe. I don't know if you look like Celine Dion, though. I don't think you do.
No, but I would kill for that nose. The high notes I could reach with the depth of those nasal passages.
They say that about Shaka Khan as well.
Yeah.
That Shaka Khan actually has an unusually shaped throat, and there's like a divot around her voice box that lets like more sound like resonate, and so she has like just like this mutant larynx.
Wild.
Making her like this amazing badass singer.
And then there's Whitney that has no physical anything that's different than others. She just trained like an intense amount as a child and outsang everyone in pop music.
Respect.
Period.
Respect to that.
Yeah.
Really?
If some people ask me to, once in a while ask for a Whitney tune, I draw the line. No, I should not be trying to sing Whitney.
Yeah.
As most people should not.
No one's tried. You know what hasn't happened yet is now I'm going to try this. Oh, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me. Oh, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel that. Like no one's done like the mournful version of I Want to Dance. It's like right there.
You're not
For
wrong.
the picking.
Yeah.
What key would you do that in? I was in E.
Oh, I don't know, because that's not really a song. I would.
Well, it is now, Jackie. That's my point.
Okay, well,
Where do you want it?
I don't know this song, so I don't know how to tell you where I'd like this tune.
I think you want it in. I think you want it in C. Oh, I want to dance. You'd be there. You really don't know this one?
I mean, like I've heard it in that, like I know it exists.
Then they could do the. Oh, I want to dance with somebody. Oh, feel the heat.
Nice.
You were talking. We were just watching that son, my son, and his hands, and you commented this looked to be the hardest part. I had this interesting discussion with somebody about left hand fatigue, of the difference between like this motion versus this motion. Do you notice that when you're doing left hand stuff? What like drains your hand?
Yeah, I mean, when I play like jazz organ, I'm doing like a bass line where I'm actually like much more used to the walking, but sometimes because I'm not doing that like every night of my life, sometimes I end up doing a little bit more of this motion, and my wrist, I'll notice the next day.
You start to feel it. Yeah.
But if I have really good technique, then I'm fine. Now, if I'm doing something where it's like, oh, like what is that song?
It's 9 to 5.
Yeah. I notice that, first of all, I don't do that kind of music that often, except for at Cigar Box. So it's hard. It's actually harder for me to just do things like that than to actually think out a bass line. And that will make, I don't know what part of my hand, but not the same. But that like impact kind of hurts my fingers a little bit after a whole night.
Yeah. And that's not even a piece of music that was written to be played like that on the piano. Like that's just like a person on like doing this.
Isn't it
on
piano?
Bass guitar.
On the recording?
I would have to double check.
I think it's piano, at least in the intro.
I haven't listened to it a lot. Okay, I believe you. The comp for that is a Billie Jean. So this is the inverse of that. This was actually written on a keyboard.
Quincy?
I don't know if it's Quincy himself, probably. But then if you're a bass player, you're like, it's like not fun to play on the bass at all.
Right.
But like keyboard players are like, what? This is it. You're just like, me. F sharp. You did it.
Yeah.
It's like actually pretty smooth.
It's actually
and then it just
really
moves
nice.
up to beat.
Yeah. That's a fun bass line.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
you know where
that's
that
a key
would be
bass
really
line.
good? In like Cantaloupe Island, if you wanted to do a little like left hand solo, it would go well in there. 'Cause you could just what is it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost the exact same tempo.
Yeah.
Well, the way I played it.
Do you, when you're playing with the band and you start sneaking, you like get a funny idea for like an incongruent, discongruent, what's the word? Congruent, incongruent line from another piece of music, and you throw it in there to amuse yourself. Do you ever look at the other musicians like?
Oh yeah, that I think.
Just wait to see their reaction.
I feel like there's several levels of like the Jazz video game.
Whoa, what's this?
Like if Jazz was a video game, and one of the levels is quoting like as many things as you can in your solo and seeing if anybody catches it, and then like of course judging them if they don't catch it. But like. And there's some people that are so like Roger Wilder and Rod Fleeman. They might have cornered the market on. I don't know anyone who can quote better than those two, but everybody does it. And I've got like mine right now. I cannot stop. I do. I just do that, and I cannot talk myself out of it. I see a 2/5 coming, and I'm like, I can do the quote again, and I'll do it like 5 times in a set, and I need to calm down. But like, Honeysuckle Rose doesn't go everywhere.
It comes like an era, like you're just in a Honeysuckle Rose phase. Like you think like in 6 months it'll be like through your system. You'll like have passed it.
I'm sure my band hopes so. And if I have any like fans, I'm sure they're also like, okay, we get it.
Well, that's the level, like getting your band to recognize something versus getting the audience to recognize something. I feel like those are two different arenas.
True.
You know?
True. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm probably annoying the band is far more gratifying in a way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so, especially like because right now I'm in a privileged situation where like I'm in a trio with my friends, which like that's not always the case. Sometimes you're making music with people that can also do that really well, and that's fine, you know. But like these guys are both like I would call them if something went wrong, or like we'll get lunch or something. And so it's like a lot more of an ESP situation when you have like a social mesh like that. So yeah, and like Seth in particular has like sort of a ridiculously good ear, so I can't really get anything past him.
Are you looking for a certain reaction out of Seth that is it like an eye roll?
It's like a corner of the eye kind of thing, that's all
it is. Yeah.
And like Matt also like has ridiculously good ears. He's just like hitting the drums really hard over there, so he doesn't, like sometimes, but he catches all Seth's quotes.
Yeah.
More than I do probably.
Yes. And is it better if it's unspoken? Like, do you want to talk about it later, or you don't want to talk? Actually, if you guys start talking about it, maybe that's a bad sign.
I don't know if any of us are like suave enough to like, I don't know. After the song, it's like, oh, that was cool, man. Like we're not. There's not like a lot of subtlety. I don't know.
That's the most that you'll say about it, or like you try to avoid talking about it at all.
I don't mind talking about it. I mean, yeah. I think like if there's some performances, like I would say a festival stage might be the only one where I'm like really like, hey, let's not talk between songs. Not with each other, not in like our little friend circle. Yeah. But other than that, like we have to enjoy ourselves. We're doing a job that's like not the easiest profession, right? In many arenas is somewhat thankless. That being said, I'm so lucky to do that. But we have to have community with each other and enjoy what we're doing. So correct. I'm not going to be like, hey, you guys, we can't talk about that song and how cool it was when you did this because we got to get on it, Yeah. You got to have a minute,
Yeah. I've always struggled with that as to how much to communicate to the audience about what is actually happening. And there's some people who will... there's different schools of thought on this. Like, for example, like sometimes we talk about like what happens when there's like a fault, like if you have a faulty key on something, you're playing a show and like, for example, like if you're just playing in C and like every once in a while, and it's like, it's not out of key, like it's a manageable problem, but it's like really bugging you. And like, is that the kind of thing that you would share with the audience? Or would you be like, no, this is my job as a performer just to like push through?
To like suck it up. No, yeah. I think at that point, you take the keyboard and you flip it over.
Billy Joel style.
Yes.
Okay.
You've seen that clip of that concert. It's amazing. Just let me do my show.
Was the dude shine a light in his eye?
It's really funny.
Billy could not
he
cope.
Lost it. And he's still like doing a song. Like, and it's flawless.
He just started fronting. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the correct response is like throw that, especially if it's the venues, just throw the keyboard on the ground, burn a bridge, right? And then never come back. And then continue performing. Sure, in your car.
Yeah. on the ride home. All right, let's see how many of these categories that we can hit. Because I know we did some of these last time, but you're going to have better answers this time. I know. Last time, Music Theory Nerd Corner, you wanted to talk about overtones. Anything else that you want to talk about today, Music Theory Nerd Corner?
I think we talked about, I love that you think of me as a music theory nerd. I love theory. Yeah. I was talking about the Kenny Barron voicing, this is a minor voicing. It's so root, fifth, and then a fifth above that. And then half step above that and two more fifths stacked on top.
Wait, half step above what?
So like C, G, D in the left hand, and then E flat, B flat, F.
Kenny Barron?
Yeah.
It's so open.
Yeah. And then you could like contrast it on the next one with like a really, really like tight voicing, like and how framing something can be more than just like, okay, well, we're going to play a minor C, and then we're going to play a G. Like, it can have these, like, flavors where maybe the lyric calls for something where you're stretched out over the keyboard, and then right before we come to the close of the song, you want it, like, a smaller voicing. And I don't know. I get better and better at, like, recognizing those moments and having a variety of voicings. And I think a lot of your voicings... that's who you are as a player in some ways. Your lines are important too, but those voicings are really... And I learned a lot of mine from Roger Wilder, who apparently I can't stop talking about this morning, but he's so good.
Why not?
Yeah.
I've seen you perform with the string section. Do you arrange thinking that same way for the strings? Like, we're going to have really open moments here and then, like, condense that as well? Like, is that in your brain?
Arranging, you know, I've got to cite Marcus Lewis if I'm going to talk about arranging, and Bobby Watson, who I studied arranging with both of them with independent studies. And they have very different approaches.
Yeah.
Marcus has what I would call almost like a textbook approach on hand. Like if you're like, all right, I'm in the B section, I'm talking trauma. Like, you could cite anything and he'd be like, this is how I would do it. And he has a very concise way of explaining these really rather complex topics.
It's brilliant. He's a good educator.
He's a great educator.
Yeah.
And that arranging course that I took with him pretty much forever changed how I write for jazz. But then at UMKC, the comp program is very separate from the jazz program.
Okay.
So over there, I mean, we're talking like putting stuff in the piano strings, stuff that's outside our traditional jazz. I actually enjoy a lot of that stuff. That's why I learned about microtones.
A little bit of 12 tone.
Schoenberg. It's funny that he comes up because I was talking with Marcus Lewis about him last night.
Schoenberg?
Schoenberg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Schoenberg.
Yeah.
Wait, are we talking about the same?
Yeah, 12-tone guy is Schoenberg.
Schoenberg. Are you doing that with an intentional accent?
Yes.
Okay. Schoenberg.
I think it's like SHOE. Schoenberg.
There's a little umlaut in there somewhere, I bet.
Okay. Bless you.
So he's like the 12-tone guru, I would say, right?
Yes. Yeah. But
did anybody do it better? I don't know.
But even he had this like respect for the fundamentals. There were all these students after he came up with that would travel to study with him, and they'd be like, "Let's do the 12-tone," and he'd be like, "Do you understand the rules of basic harmony? Because we're not doing that until you get through this mountain of music theory, and like understanding that stuff before you venture out." Is to me like paramount to like understanding how to be a good composer.
Sure.
And I very much view myself as trying to get there still, on the road still, even though I've composed a lot, just because there's so much to cover.
Yeah.
And for a long time I was frustrated because it was just like, is there anything that hasn't been decided? Like, is there a point to this? Why am I trying to make anything new? And there really is. So that was like the exciting answer that I found for myself, and like a worthwhile like reason to move forward. And a lot of it was combining these approaches. Okay. Like Marcus has he's grounded in like, it has to be a good melody, has to be a good chord progression, has to be arranged properly for the right ranges and the right instruments. And then the other side where it's just like modern composition, extended techniques, things like, there might be microtones, or the saxophone might not have the mouthpiece on it. Like combining some of these like modern...
I would say that's experimental, right?
Yeah. They could be called either one. But like combining some of those efforts seemed like the next step naturally to me. It's like, why are these two like schools of thought so separate? Why aren't we combining any of this stuff? And so that's what I kind of attempted to do with my last record, and what I'd like to continue doing. And it's like, how do I do like 24-tet, but like tonal vocal jazz, you know? Yeah, sorry. This is like, there's a comedian I watch, and she's like, I tell people sometimes I'm an accountant, and I tell them because then the conversation completely dies. And this is what happens when I talk about microtones. I'm like, you guys, there's more notes. And they're like, okay.
The notes between the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know what just got me thinking about? I like to do this joke with my kids sometimes, where we'll talk about different dimensions. I read a book when I was a kid about people who could accidentally slide into the fourth dimension and not understand it when it was happening. And the author did a really smart thing where the author invented like new directions. I think it was like ana and kata, that if we slid into the fourth dimension, there would be things that since we're just basic third dimension people, we could not perceive. We would not understand. We wouldn't even know how to describe it or name it. We wouldn't have names for these things. And I wonder if that happens if you slide into another dimension, if actually there would be an element of sound that would be so new to us as a third dimension person that we can't even perceive it.
I mean, I think you can think of some of the scales used internationally when heard by our ears
Western
in
ears,
this country.
if you will.
Yeah, Western ears.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very like the first time that I heard some like Bulgarian music that
Okay.
they use microtones, so does Indian music. Listening to that, it just seems it seemed beautiful, but for me to perceive it and understand that as like certain notes rather than like, oh, well, we're just really on the way from this note to this note. That's what that, thing
Sure,
is, either in an instrument or a voice. And actually perceiving those as individual notes, I would say I'm still working on that, even though I will write for stuff like that. Because I grew up a certain way, listening to an octave with only 12 notes. So I feel like that's kind of similar, right? Like I almost can't perceive it. I know it's there. I don't know really like how to define it and how to tell you about it or how I would play it or sing it myself, you know?
Sure. Yeah. But like what you were saying earlier about the composition teacher who insisted that you have a basis of basic harmony before you moved into 12 tone. Is there a version of a human being who is, or maybe in a culture that we're inventing, that actually just, this is really hard to imagine, but is raised on 12 tone in a way and doesn't have a concept of, because my struggles with 12 tone is like, well, is this going anywhere? Is this leading anywhere? But that's basic fundamentals of like harmony and melody that I'm applying to 12 tone music that doesn't apply, right?
Yeah.
So what it would take if like you could raise an isolated kid like in a lab and not expose them
and only give them Schoenberg 12 tone music.
Is someone doing this somewhere?
I feel like someone would come arrest you and put you in jail or something for child abuse if you did that. That'd be amazing.
But like this is kind of my point though, is like this is 12-tone music such a challenge is because as human beings we are ingrained with this primal idea that we want to feel like music is taking us somewhere.
Maybe. I've always thought of the laws of harmony as reflecting the physics around us.
Okay.
And I think of the reason that the works of music that we're used to, like symphonies or songs, have to go somewhere, start, have a middle, and complete, is more of a reflection of our, like, we're the only creatures that have consciousness of beginning and end of our lives.
Okay.
And we've always had to create systems in order to grapple with that.
Sure.
And that's why I've always thought that our music has like beginnings and endings.
Right.
But why do we use harmony? That's why we have the overtone series. The notes that we have in our scales work with the physics of harmony in our world. So it only makes sense that we would gravitate towards those. But it's just the question of, okay, we have that as a basis, but where can we go from there? Mm-hmm. And I think Schoenberg's stuff does have a place somewhere. You can start with harmonic stuff, go there and come back. Or like sci-fi film. How are you going to have sci-fi film without atonal? Mm-hmm. There's a place for everything.
Is the idea there that it's just exploratory? Or like you're going somewhere and there's no map? That's like the part of the appeal. I don't know. I went to the idea of space exploration, right? And so like you're out in space, you have no map. It's seemingly infinite. Is that connected to the idea of like...
I think that's what you're talking about is the most challenging thing about experimental and modern music. Yeah. Is like we already know the rules. Like if I'm going to write a sonata, like I wrote a rondo this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Charlotte Street asked me to write something for like this really good young piano player in town.
Okay. Yeah.
And even though I'm a jazzer, I was like, yeah, let me do that, And so I did some research and kind of came up with something that's a little bit modern sounding, but I wanted it to kind of fit in his program. And he's doing a lot of like, he's got lists in there. I can't say that name properly, but
lists.
There's
a Z in there, isn't it? It's the Z that always throws me off.
I think it's the T and the D. I mean, there's
a D
right,
too?
Yeah, there's like lists.
Lists.
Anyway, so I made it kind of like classical sounding, and it's a rondo, but that I could like look up. There were many constraints, and I find that constraints in form almost help you. The piece almost writes itself if you have like a strong enough background in harmony and with your instrument.
Yeah.
You know, because you've got the form right in front of you. So you're just like, oh, well, I can imagine a melody. Okay, I'll reiterate that melody. I'll put chords underneath it, and this is how I'll do it. And I'll do that. What is that bass line called? There's
Alberti bass.
Oh my God, you thought of it. Yes, that's exactly what I was talking
my
about.
kids are taking piano lessons right now. They're doing
That's so good.
Alberti bass. I hear it every day.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll cite that I know what that is, and I used it in one site. But like, if you do enough research and you understand music, writing that kind of thing wasn't that challenging.
It's not that hard.
But you tell me like, okay, you need to not use any of the rules of harmony, and you need to go into new area where we have no set rules yet or form.
Yeah.
That is super challenging. And I think sometimes it's like modern music is frustrating to perceive, but that's some brave stuff right there. Like putting yourself out there in that way and just being like, I don't know.
Well, also, I don't know. I feel like we lose track of art and expression, you know? But I think you and I are kind of talking about the idea of exercising and challenging ourselves. It's like what I would struggle to do. And I say this, maybe in college I had to compose a 12-tone piece. Maybe I had to do that. But was it really did I have any sense of self-expression? Or was I like trying to check a box like, oh, okay, I did this, you know?
Was it the latter?
Probably. I haven't written any 12-tone music since. And that was always kind of odd because it seems to be so much more of an intellectual exercise than something that's like coming from here.
Sure.
But I want to believe it can be done. I don't know. I'm going to need to spend more time thinking about this.
But sometimes the exercise is the piece, especially in that like modern experimental realm. You know, like the rules are the piece. And like the boundary, like that system, the 12-tone is. And I did the same thing. Like in my undergrad, we had to cover Schoenberg. And I remember writing a piece and being like, I hate this. And I'll never write like this. I find this to be like disrespectful to music. Like I was like, seriously, I had like a visceral reaction to it. But then later when I came back to that stuff, I used it when I was writing. I love to write film scores. Okay. And like specifically, I really like to write film scores for silent film because you get so much of like you're just completely off the leash. You can write music for the entire thing rather than like, oh, just between this scene and this scene, we need 20 seconds, you know? Yeah. So you can underscore everything like very strongly, big melodies, big motifs. Right. And I wrote a score for A Trip to the Moon, Méliès film. And I love that film. And there's a part where it was just like sort of chaos. And I thought I was studying at the time and I was like, this is it. This is the moment for the 12-tone. And I ended up writing it and enjoying getting engrossed in like the pattern of it. Yeah. And being like, okay, this is it. All right, what if I flip it this way? What if I flip it around and I use that as a 12-tone for like 8 bars? Maybe if I like slow it down and I do it half pace, but I contrast it and making it try to sound kind of cool. Yeah. You know, and the second time around, after I let go of like the judgment of what I thought of music, and I was more of the opinion that it doesn't matter what I think of music. I'm just like this random ass person. Yeah. Like my opinions are so inconsequential to anything. Just like observe and be part, you know? Sure. And so I just kind of let go of any judgment of myself or what that was going to sound like and just like get into it. I really enjoyed it. And it worked really well
you enjoyed the process.
Actually. I did, yeah. Yeah. Don't worry, I can send you an email with my weird 12-tone piece.
I'm down because you're making me think about some guys who had the opposite idea. The guys who did the music for WALL-E, that opens with Infinite Starscape, but it's early 20th century jazz, like and it's like cutting to all these stars. And like different like space exploration, but with this music, and this is like what WALL-E the robot had to listen to, but it also had this like youthful energy of like, look where we could go, you know, like, oh, what are we gonna do tonight? Are we gonna go there? The idea that like you're a young person in the early 20th century, and like you're drawn out, you're going to the club. You think like that, and that was like the currency at the time. Like, ooh, we're gonna go hear some jazz. You know, that like got young people really, really excited. So these filmmakers are like, no one's ever done this before. of like show space as like this really exciting young playground for that young people are excited to go to, and then juxtapose that. It's just the first 30 seconds of Wall-E.
Okay, so it's like super modern, but they're using like a old-fashioned kind of theme or feeling.
I mean, well, is space modern? I mean, this is kind of like space is space. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess so. Yeah, I think of space as modern just because you need like rockets, and we didn't know about it for a long time. I don't know. I guess space is just space.
Space was there before we had rockets, though, like a long time.
Don't lie to me. Next, you're going to tell me this whole thing is round.
Next thing you did, I was waiting for you to make a flat Earth joke, and it was right on time.
I have something to tell you. I am secretly a flat earther. Thank you for having me. Good night.
Do you remember? Oh, we did Steel is Slick. We did the Bob lick. That what was the Bob thing that we did? Or was that was mine?
Bob.
Yeah, we made up a lick that we were going to steal. Something like that. It was over a 2-5-1.
Okay.
That's a country thing though.
Oh man, what is that country piano player that did stuff like this?
That would be Mr. Floyd Kramer.
Yes. When I lived in Austin, I was just like, I need to do that. So I learned a bunch of like Floyd stuff.
Yeah, he was Patsy Cline's piano player.
Just the best. The best. Never a note that like was too much, just exactly the right amount, which is what I can never achieve that. I'm like, oh, I played okay tonight. That's probably too many notes in that solo. Like we didn't really need that, like the economy of like what you're going to put into a song. I also do that as a composer where I'm just like, that turned out a little contrived, like, and like trying to temper that. And he just had that maturity from like a very early age.
Well, there's something stately about that music. That music's not in a hurry,
right?
And so even the idea that it could be like, was it Walking After Midnight? Right. The band could be doing that, and Patsy Cline could be down center, just vibing, right?
Yeah.
And there could be Floyd like. Nobody, no one's really.
Sam, it's already too much.
But, no one's in a hurry. That's what that music tells me, and to also to honor that, to have everybody on stage giving enough respect and honor to each other that like this takes as long as it takes, and like and sitting in this like to me I consider the most of the music that I usually play that was pretty relaxed,
Well, the song was honored in that time. You could also, I mean, I don't want to get too dark about the state of the music industry, but a great song could change a person's life.
Sure.
Back then, right? So we're going to do it exactly like how it needs to be done and like really honor, and like a singer-songwriter who wrote, I mean, Patsy didn't write a lot of her lyrics, but then there was a songwriting team because again, one song could change somebody's life. So you could have Willie Nelson writing the song, and then there'd be enough from one song that Patsy Cline, you could afford her singing it. You could afford a full band of A-listers playing it. You could afford studio time, then a tour, production engineer, and it would be, and a label.
Yeah.
And like you'd sell enough records to cover all those people's salaries. So I think that kind of like, there's something to be said about some of those parts and how they're engineered to be like just perfect and just subtle enough because they're all honoring this one golden song.
Do you feel like Nashville is now doing that at scale? The process you just described would take 3 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a record takes 6 months to a year to like finish and put out. But a song, yes, 3 months. Yeah,
That using the Patsy Cline and Willie Nelson process, as an example, literally 100 years ago, that would have been like a 3-month process if things were like clicking along.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I think you could do that in three. They expect that in 3 days.
Yeah, but
right?
Turn on the radio.
Like that all of what we just described has been so truncated.
Yeah. I don't hate all modern music.
I'm not endorsing that. I'm just saying that's...
But I think it reflects. I think you hear some stuff on the radio right now that's just like, what is that? Like, how many... Are there any musicians on this, you know? And like some part of that is cool. The exploration of electronic music and production, some of that is an evolution in that direction and should be treated as such. That's a new art form and it's really cool. But also it's a reflection of the fact that like there's no longer a product to sell. So like you can't support a full band in the studio. You can't do it.
Correct.
You know, and it's got to be this like fast thing. The only people that can really afford that older process are the 1%ers that are selling out stadiums. Like Beyonce has songwriters and she has a killing band and dancers and she's got all the stuff that we're talking about. But you know, you and I, we're gonna be you know making our own home studios and spending maybe one day in a studio kind of thing.
But if that means the process takes longer, I'm okay with that. You know. I'm okay. But it's also like, well, if I do not, I don't depend on any recorded music for any income at all. I do not do that. I would probably be speaking to you differently if it was strictly my livelihood, which again, to your point, it's very rare now. But if I decide to do a record, I'm going to want to enjoy the process, and I'm going to want to take the time to get it right because I do not feel compelled to be on anybody's release schedule except my own. Right. And I think there's freedom and joy in that. But is it if I'm going to spend resources on it, time, money, I have to know that's like I'm like waving goodbye to the time and money to know that I'm going to get this thing on the other end. That's just a reflection of me and how I wanted to do it, not necessarily something that I'm going to sell and profit from. Right.
I would say that, like, first of all, it makes my heart really happy to just hear you say all that because there's so many friends of mine, including yourself, that are just like, yeah, there's no financial viability to making an album. But that's not how art was ever made. Some people are just compelled to make art. And that's a beautiful thing. No matter how the world around you changes, it will always happen. There will always be people that are spurred to reflect upon the world around them and put out something creative. And like the fact that we can't even sell that anymore and there's still countless records coming out, to me, there's something beautiful about that.
But were we supposed to be selling it in the first place?
We've always had to. Even like Mozart back in the day, they always had to have somebody supporting.
Sell out. 2-bit sellout.
There's always had to be some sort of compromise, right? How does it function? It has to function somehow financially.
No, I would say he is. Sometimes I think we might be going back into basically an era of patronage, right? And
that's what those folks had, right? The church or patronage of a king.
Maybe that's all right. Maybe it's just like with the rise of stuff like crowdsourcing and literally Patreon is an example of this. Like, you know, let's just have the people with wealth and resources subsidize the artists. This is what musical Rent was about. Really, it's like what the opening song is like. Why do I have to pay rent when my contribution to society is my art? Like this is my contribution, but I'm expected to like pay in monetarily to society. This was a 90s idea, right? But Rent was like also anti-capitalism in a way that I feel like young artists now are hyper aware of capitalism and have to decide if they're going to play the game or not. Right.
Or if they're going to compromise and some part of them. Like I will post on social media and sometimes I'm like, do I really want to be in that world at all? But I have to compromise a little bit because I want people to come to my shows. Do I think that Meta is a good company? Obviously not. I mean, they're getting sued right now.
For being bad.
Yeah, for I don't even want to say what I heard on NPR because it was very, oh my God.
Yeah.
But, and mostly they're having like terrible effects on children.
Yeah.
And like, of course I don't want to support that. But I also can't make music in a vacuum. And my options aren't that vast, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we all have to figure out where we're comfortable and draw the line where we're okay with it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I am happy to see is that like music will not go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally take the product away. We can have nothing to sell and we will still make albums. And that is why I love musicians.
This leads nicely into a good wrap-up category.
And let me be clear, I don't think that's how it should be. I think that we should have state subsidies, government subsidies for art.
This is what I was going to ask you. I'm going to put you in charge of the U.S. Department of Musical Security. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, people who are making...
We have subsidies now. Are you saying you want to crank up the subsidies and basically disenfranchise people who are in the music industry who are capitalists? Would that be better?
What subsidies are you referring to?
You're in charge. You tell me. What would you do?
Oh, you're saying now there are subsidies in this?
We have the National Endowment for the Arts, which has been gutted recently.
Yeah.
But we have that.
The Kennedy Center's shutting down for 2 or 3 years. Like, any of our subsidies or grants have been absolutely gutted.
Okay.
And even before that, we were well behind. I mean, there's a lot of European countries where you can just register as a musician and they will support you monthly. You know, in Ireland, they have like crazy subsidies for musicians.
Is there quality control with this? Do you have to?
That's an argument I've heard before. I have a friend in Boston who owns this wonderful venue called the Lily Pad.
Okay.
And he was like, I mean, for better or worse, because it's so competitive. Some of our musicians have to be very, very good, depending on what city you're in, because you cannot make a living otherwise. And the fact that we have no subsidies means sink or swim. So we develop music. And I don't know if I'm not going to make a call whether I think that's a good or bad thing. I don't think musicians should suffer. Like, I think there's room for everybody.
Well, you're hitting on the point of like, am I going to choose to make a living from this or not? Is this going to be my profession? Because that, what's the book? There's a book about this called Turning Pro. Stephen Pressfield. Have you read any of his stuff? Gotta check it out.
Okay.
But he has a whole book on the idea of turning pro. Like once you just decide that you are a professional at anything, we're talking about in terms of being music, but a professional photographer or a painter or just being a writer. A lot of the book is about that. You have an internal shift to your approach to your art forever. Like it's just there. It's different, which is different than being an amateur. It's just different, you know?
It's scary. I mean, do you remember when you were like, all right, I'm going to just go for this thing? That's one of the scariest moments that I've had in my life.
I've never done anything else. I've always, ever since I was a kid, I've been on a path to be doing what I'm doing like right now.
So you never, okay.
Yeah.
I was in IT for like 2.5 years. Right out of school. And like I had no training to do that. I just figured it out. I think that the CEOs were like, oh, she can read the internet and she knows how to fix the things. And so I just figured out how to do that.
Yeah.
And at some point, I mean, I couldn't stay away from the piano. I was like, I cannot come in on Fridays anymore because I have to practice. And they were like, okay, you'll work remote. Like I was doing a good job for them.
Yeah.
So they were doing everything they could. And they had sympathy from where I was coming from. The boss and we had met at a concert. We both had a passion for music. So he knew where I was coming from. Yeah. And he tried so hard to like be like, okay, what do you need? And ultimately
quasi-patronage deal, actually, a little bit.
Yeah. No, he was
really
great.
amazing.
Yeah. And that was one of my first bosses, and he was just fantastic. But eventually what I needed was to not work for them. You know, I was just like, I have to just jump off, you know, and so I did, and it was difficult for a number of years, but then, and I think a lot of people have that, where they have like sort of like a sure thing, and they've developed a lifestyle around this, and then they jump off and realize their life has to change, you know, a good amount, because it takes like so much longer to become financially stable in the and now I do feel that way. I mean, it can really go up and down month to month, but I feel that Kansas City will have my back at the end of the day. I feel well supported in the community. It's not perfect. No city is. Yeah. But this might be the best place for me. That's at good. Least, you know? Yeah. And you know what I'm talking about. We have a strong community here, and a lot of like towns don't necessarily have that. There's a certain anonymity to a lot of towns. But here we like all know each other and we all root for each other. Yeah.
I find I kind of straddle it in Kansas City because I'm also raising my children here. So I have to be able to be a functional father, which is important to me, present, give them opportunities, and they go to great schools. I'm very, very grateful for that. While also being a professional musician. I have to do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
A group I know out of Nashville, they just had their first kid, and they're used to touring in the summers. They just took I wouldn't call that person an infant, somewhere between like a toddler and an infant. I don't know if you can tell I'm just a dog parent, but somewhere in that age range. Yeah. They took that child over to Belgium.
Did they raise it in a 12-tone environment?
Where they will contain him and raise him only in, yes. But yeah, they're going on tour with their kid and just starting off of just being like, listen, kid, this is what we do, you know, and they've got the earmuffs and the kid is at all the rehearsals in the videos, at the concerts, in the green room, and like, we figured out, right? Like
nobody says you can't. There's no, I mean, now we're talking about parenting and there's no actual handbook for that.
Look at Tedeschi. They do it.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like a nicer family? They seem like the nicest people in the world.
I mean, I showed you that. I'm very, very proud of my kids, and they're all kind of musical in their own way, but I do not have any expectations that they become a professional musician like me. But it's fascinating to watch their growth, and honestly, Jackie, how they're better than I was at their age. I'm like, what? How? What? How? Like they're leaving me in the dust, which is like amazing, but also kind of like you can become a doctor, you can become a lawyer, but oh my God, you're really good. It's amazing.
That's great.
It's amazing to see. We got to wrap it up. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been so much fun. So cheers to you.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for tuning in to Piano Barbarians. We welcome all of your comments and questions and concerns. Email us here at pbarbs@redbeatentertainment.com. These shows are mostly recorded here in Red Beat Entertainment Studios, Red Beat Studios in North Kansas City, Missouri. If you want to hire some Piano Barbarians for an event or for a group, or you're interested in bringing Piano Barbarians to you, please reach out. We would love to chat about that. We'll see you next time.